Welcome everyone. So this video is going to be a reflection over this question that I'd posed for discussion, though it might be interesting more generally. And so the question was, when I was in Tucson during spring break of March of 2020, I took a picture of Panera's door and a sign advertising unlimited coffee subscription, $8.99 per month. Here's that picture right here. You can see my reflection. See my shoes. I was trying to figure out what these shoes are. That was over 3 years ago, and I have no idea what I was wearing. I don't know. I wish I could find them. They're pretty cool shoes. They like black, and then there's some red on them, I guess. I have no idea what those were. Whatever. So anyway, things to reflect on besides my attire, right? Is the market for coffee competitive? Does Panera have market power? How does the coffee subscription affect the level of competition in the market? And would you be willing to purchase the subscription? Why or why not? And presumably, also give an explanation. So I'll give my thoughts on these. This is thinking about issues around market power, market structure, product differentiation, and then some of the strategies that a firm might have. The first question, though, let me just take this in order so that it's kind of clear and orderly. First question, is the market for coffee competitive? Well, there's a form of competition, but it's certainly not perfect competition, right? We definitely have many buyers, we definitely have many sellers, but it's not like there's a uniform single price for coffee that everybody knows, right? And also, it's not clear that coffee is a identical product, homogeneous good, right? Like, there's maybe a difference between the type of coffee you'd get from even plain coffee from a store versus that you'd make yourself, right? And then have whether they give you a cup or whether you have to have your own mug and then you have to carry it, and there's different transaction costs. So even if we agree that the coffee itself was the same and was uniform, there's no taste differences or quality differences between what you'd have at home versus at any store, right? Even then, there's still some differentiation with the product and the way that it's packaged, right? So for these reasons, I would say, I probably wouldn't think of the market for coffee as perfect competition. I'd say it may be closest to something like monopolistic competition. There's substantial product differentiation once we start bringing in flavors or allowing for things beyond plain coffee. But I'd say probably the best conclusion is to say there's definitely a form of competition, but most closely we'd call it imperfect competition. Probably monopolistic competition, although possibly oligopoly. And then it depends, are we thinking about market for coffee you're going to purchase ready-made or coffee you're making yourself? And then that's a whole nother question. Okay, does Panera have market power? Yeah, we'd say Panera has at least some market power, even in the coffee market. Presumably, their highest amount of market power is going to be over those who are already placing an order for something else. So the idea is, well, if you're buying something for breakfast or some other meal, and then you're thinking about ordering coffee, presumably your demand for coffee, conditional on wanting coffee, your demand for coffee from Panera, conditional on already wanting coffee and already be placing an order with Panera, should be pretty inelastic. And so they've got some degree of market power. They've certainly got market power in like the what's like fast casual food market anyway, and this extends to some sense to the coffee market. My comment, though, anecdotally, sometimes I've made two stops to buy coffee and food separately, especially if there's like a really good coffee shop, and so I want to buy coffee from there and then also like stop at a separate restaurant. So I've bought coffee from like a regular coffee shop and then gone to Panera. So I don't know, maybe you have too, or maybe not. Who knows? We'd say the restaurant industry is typically thought of as monopolistic competition. So this is where we've got many buyers, many sellers, but product differentiation. And the product differentiation allows for market power within a specific niche, right? That's the idea. And then actually some of our pricing intuition from the monopoly case extends within that niche for how pricing should work. We get the outcome in monopolistic competition where you're going to get the firm producing where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but also where price is going to be equal to average total cost, so there'll be zero profits in the long run. We might also sometimes think of the restaurant industry, maybe Panera in this case, is something closer to an oligopoly. And my comment here is having to do with geography. So firstly, for the restaurant industry, usually we think of the local restaurant industry as monopolistic competition. But it'd be an severe error to just uniformly apply that everywhere. Just say, oh, here's a town, here's a restaurant, it's got to be monopolistically competitive. No, because if you had a small town or if you had an area that was kind of geographically isolated where maybe there's other locations and other stores competing in the metro area, but maybe it's prohibitively difficult to reasonably go to one of those other places, then we might think of like the barriers of geography reinforcing something like an oligopoly. Like a small town that's got like one McDonald's or a Burger King or something like that, it's definitely much closer to an oligopoly, potentially even a monopoly, right? And so my comment is, lots of times we might think of restaurants as monopolistic competition, though it could be oligopoly. And actually, you wouldn't know this, but that Panera was right adjacent to the University of Arizona campus, and it was Panera's right next to a really good coffee shop called Cafe Luce. And so in some sense, there's like an oligopoly for coffee, although like if you really care about your coffee, you're for sure going to Cafe Luce. And then if you're thinking of coffee as sort of like an afterthought, then maybe you'd go to Panera. So oligopoly maybe, but there's definitely an interesting competitive balance in that particular place due to this geography. How does the subscription affect the level of competition? Well, the idea is once you've got the subscription, this should raise the switching costs for the customers, right? And so if I am going to Panera for breakfast, right, or in the intermediate micro slides where I talk about cookies and coffee, it's actually like a go-to. It wasn't actually Panera at the time. It was Paradise Bakery. But anyway, so you'd go in there and I'd get coffee and cookies. And, if I was to have one of these subscriptions, maybe I'd think twice about going next door to go to Cafe Luce. Although in fairness, for sure, I say it right here, I'd probably go to Cafe Luce instead. For sure I would. But anyway, so the idea is it's not an insurmountable barrier, the $8.99 per month subscription. Like once you've paid for that for unlimited coffee, that won't really stop people from buying from Starbucks, for instance, or whatever might be Panera's main rival, especially since it's $8.99 for unlimited coffee from Panera. That doesn't preclude you from buying coffee from anywhere else. You're not prohibited from, and if you'd rather go someplace else, you might as well. And you can still get all the coffee that you could drink from Panera. Right? So the idea is, on average, it might prevent consumers from going somewhere else. Pricing policy isn't quite geared towards monopoly in the coffee market, even in the first place, though, right? What they're really trying to do, I would say, is Panera's actually more interested in all the other things people are going to be buying, because they wouldn't want the situation I was talking about up here, where sometimes I'd make 2 stops to buy coffee and food at separate stores, right? They wouldn't want me to, presumably go into the other coffee shop and then, either still go to both places but buy less from Panera, or figure out that actually the pastries or whatever that we have next door are pretty good too, and then stop going to Panera. So the idea is they're interested in this is like explicitly competing in the coffee market. However, the rationale for having this policy at the store level or at the company level is extending far beyond coffee, right? They're interested in the other things you're buying. Would you be willing to purchase a subscription? Well, you'd say yes if you really like coffee and Panera, and or if the transaction costs of getting your coffee from Panera are pretty low. So the idea is like if you feel like you're gonna use the subscription, meaning do you think you're gonna buy close to or more than $9 a month worth of coffee? If so, then it's worthwhile. If not, then for sure not. I mean, $9 a month per coffee, there's probably somewhere in the range of like 9 coffees, right? Nine individual drinks. So if you think you're going to go there like 9 times, or I don't know, 4.5 times and get 2 coffees each of those 4.5 times, right? Then maybe you'd buy the subscription or more. Otherwise, probably not. I'd say if I walked past a Panera on the way to class, then I'd really consider signing up. That'd be true of the U of A campus. Not of all places. Lots of times the Panera is kind of far away from campuses. But actually, even at the U of A campus, in that case, as I'd mentioned, I would actually probably go to Cafe Luce instead. And of the times when I've gone back to visit U of A campus, I have always stopped at Cafe Luce, and I've only occasionally stopped at the Panera. Matter of fact, the day that I went to the Panera, I was walking by to go to Cafe Luce, and I stopped to take the picture of the sign. So that is where this came from in the first place. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the reflection. See you next time.